Hi friends, I'm Yizzy Pop. I am a cosplayer, an artist, and a creator. Today I wanted to dive deep on a topic that has been on my mind for the entirety of my cosplaying experience, and that is making versus buying your cosplays. For the past 4 years, I've been fortunate enough to be able to do both, and I just wanted to talk about some things that I've learned, like the pros and cons of buying versus making, the stigma behind buying your cosplays, and a few tips and tricks about overall sustainability with cosplaying. But before we get started, do me a favor, check out my channel and maybe subscribe and hit that notification bell for more videos like this in the future. I mostly make videos related to cosplay, the cosplay community, art, gaming, anime, horror, and things that I like, pretty much. And if you cannot tell, today I am dressed up as Luna Snow from Marvel Rivals. I picked this one specifically because it is a cosplay that I thrifted and threw together and altered myself. Okay, let's get started. So, little background on my cosplay history. I had a blip of cosplaying in high school for about a year, I'd say. Back then, I really only made my cosplays. I was probably around 16 years old, and I didn't know a bunch of people in the cosplay community, nor did I have the education to resources to buying my own cosplays. Like I said, I only cosplayed for about a year, and then I probably started it up again during COVID. And during this time, I was in the middle of nursing school, aka I had no time and I was super broke. Now, don't get me wrong, I am a very, very big DIY girl. I was, and I guess I still am, the kind of person to go out shopping with the mindset where I would look at something and think, I could probably make that myself. And with the mindset that I would be saving money by doing so. Unfortunately, with the circumstances of that time in my life, I did not have the time or money to have that mindset. Now, don't get me wrong, there were a few cosplays that I attempted to make slash thrift slash put together myself. But what I eventually came to realize is that I was probably spending more time and money trying to make those cosplays because I was spending the money on the resources and then potentially buying more because I maybe messed up. And it was overall impacting my time slash sleep just because I was in school at the time. And I attended an accelerated nursing program, which means everything was more fast paced, and I went to school all year round. So when I say I was busy, I was very busy. But somehow I still found time to do cosplay and somehow not fail my classes. Anyways, I eventually made the decision to just buy my cosplays moving forward, and I made it my goal for after graduating to dedicate more time to learning how to make my cosplays. The point is, I have experience on both sides of cosplaying, and even when I did buy my cosplays, I spent a lot of time making props and accessories and things of that nature. Were they the best quality? No, but I tried, and that is the beauty and craft of cosplaying. Now, let's talk about some pros and some cons of making versus buying your cosplays. Let's start with making. One pro of making your cosplays is the overall fulfillment you feel when you put your hard work into something. Pride you feel when making something, and then the satisfaction of finally being able to wear it when it's all put together and finished is amazing. The cosplay that I personally felt the most pride in making was my holiday pyramid head cosplay. That one was probably one of the best cosplays that I had put together on my own. Another pro is the skills that you learn and exercise when making your cosplay. Cosplayers, in my eyes, are a jack of all trades. There are so many sub-hobbies within the entire hobby of cosplaying. Sewing, painting, prop making, wig styling, makeup artistry, 3D modeling and printing, pattern designs, welding. I could go on forever. When you learn to make your cosplay, you learn to exercise a lot of different artistic skills that you may not necessarily be doing when you buy your cosplay. Another pro is potentially saving money. Now, this one is finicky. If you have the time, skills, and resources to make your cosplay, you might be saving a lot more money than, say, for example, buying it online. For example, a Mira cosplay on Amazon is $53 for some reason. I'm sure there are cheaper options out there, but my point is that this outfit is something that you could easily thrift and throw together yourself. You can find the logo or the design for her shirt online and probably print it out on heat transfer vinyl, or I've seen some people hand paint the design themselves. Then you can crop it, and then you could either thrift or create a yellow skirt. You can find some fingerless gloves, some thigh-high boots, or socks, and boom! you have a pretty solid Mira cosplay. And if you already have a lot of the supplies slash clothes or accessories at home, you'd be saving yourself a lot more money. Another pro is that you would be able to customize your cosplays according to your exact measurement. An issue that I've personally faced when buying my cosplays is that a lot of them are either too big or that they fit wonky really bad, and I don't really check the measurements of a lot of cosplays, and I just assume that if they have the option for extra small or small, then it would fit me. But sometimes that is not the case. Sometimes it's a little bit too big, and I really don't like altering, especially when I just dropped a bunch of money on a cosplay that I bought specifically because I didn't want to make it. Then I have to put in more work into making sure it actually fits me. And so, if you're making your own cosplay from scratch, you have the ability to just take your own measurements and go from there. Okay, let's move on to the cons of making your own cosplay. Now, mind you, a lot of these pros can also be reversed into cons as well. For example, you might be spending a lot more money trying to make your cosplays than you would if you bought it. Depending on what kind of cosplay you're trying to make, trying to find the exact resources to replicate that cosplay might end up costing you a lot more. And if you're like me and you don't get it right the first time, and then you need to buy extra materials, then you would be spending more money. This just kind of goes back to my previous example of me when I was in school. It just was more worth it in the long run for me to just buy a cosplay pretty much done. It was more worth it that way than if I had spent a bunch of time that I didn't have and then the money on the resources. It just sometimes you just have to weigh your options. Another con, depending on your skill level, is the quality might not be as good as you want it to be. I have made a lot of crappy cosplays, but hey, I did it. Would I wear them again? Probably not. But at least I tried, and I'm glad I had that learning experience. Another con is time consumption. Making your own cosplays can take up a lot of time. Some people spend months and months dedicating their time into perfecting this one outfit. And depending on your situation in life, it may not necessarily be the most efficient or convenient thing. Again, going back to my personal experience, because I was so busy, it was just not worth it in the long run for me to be making my cosplays. Okay, now let's talk about the pros and cons of buying your cosplay. Now that I'm thinking about it, a lot of these pros and cons are just kind of opposites of one another, but I'm gonna say it anyways because I already kind of went down in this formatted list thing. So the main pro about buying your cosplays is convenience. Going back to my previous point, it is convenient in the sense that you would be saving time and potentially money, again depending on the materials you have and your skill level. That's pretty much all the pros I got right now. I guess you could say a pro is buying your cosplays, or I would say, sorry, I'm going off of script, but cosplay companies opening up like this have made the cosplay community a little bit more accessible to people who do not have the time, resources, or skills to be making their own cosplays. So I would say convenience as well as accessibility to more people entering the community. And now let's talk about cons. First one being less customization opportunities, specifically with the example that you are pretty much just wearing the cosplay straight out of the bag. You wouldn't have a whole lot of room for customizations. However, I have seen a lot of people buy their cosplays and then kind of like glamorize them a little bit by adding a lot more intricate details and fancying up the cosplay that they got. And then another con, like I mentioned before, is that buying your cosplays can be potentially pricier depending on where you get them from. There are a lot of fancy, expensive cosplay websites, and they sell a lot of cosplays that are more so in casual wear, and the items that are included are definitely things that you could just find at the thrift store. Like, I'm gonna drop an example here. Like, you can definitely find this at the thrift store. Another con is shipping wait time and potentially shipping anxiety in general. I have a terrifying fear that A, my cosplay will not arrive on time for whatever it is I am gonna wear it at. B, it's going to get lost and I'm never going to get it. Or C, it's going to be sent somewhere else and there's nothing I can really do about it and potentially not get a refund. I got trust issues when it comes to buying cosplays. sometimes. Okay, to wrap up this unorganized ramble mess, one isn't better than the other. Both are valid forms of cosplaying. I'm sure many of you know that there is this stigma against cosplayers who solely only buy their cosplays, and how the community, or some people in the community, consider them to be not real cosplayers, which is absolutely not true. If I pull out my handy dandy dictionary, cosplay: the activity of dressing up as a character from a work of fiction such as a comic book, video game, or TV show. The act of dressing up itself has a higher significance to the definition of cosplay compared to the idea of having made that outfit. If you've watched my videos in the past, you've probably heard me say this, and I've said it once and I will say it again. Cosplay is a hobby and a form of self-expression. Therefore, no one can define you as a real or not real cosplayer, because it is up to you or your personal interpretation of it. I will use my personal experience as an example. I really hate sewing. I loathe it, and it is the bane of my existence. For my first ever build for Holiday Pyramid Head, I hot glued my outfit together, the fabric pieces, because I did not want to sew. But I still put my blood, sweat, and tears into the helmet because I personally love prop making. Point is, you can still buy your cosplays and exercise different creative abilities in different subskills, like prop making, wig styling, face paint, or body paint. The list goes on and on. And even if you didn't make your cosplay, or you didn't style your wig, or do your own makeup, you're still a cosplayer because you're wearing it. You have become a new interpretation of this character, and therefore you are cosplaying. I might make a separate video about this topic in the future, about people defining what is considered real and not real when it comes to cosplaying, just because I could go on and on about it forever. But I will point out that this ideology is obviously very different when it comes to actual cosplay competitions at conventions. But I will save that for another time, just throwing that out there so nobody thinks that I think it's okay to bring a bot cosplay to a cosplay competition. Okay, now that I am done with that section of my very confusing, long, and unorganized ramble, let's talk about tips and tricks about maintaining overall sustainability when it comes to cosplay. Cosplaying has become more popularized over the past few years, and a lot of popular cosplay companies have been popping up, almost to the point where buying your cosplays can sometimes often be viewed similarly as contributing to the fast fashion industry. Now, this was always an interesting take to me because it definitely makes sense, but I feel like there are a lot of ways where you can buy your cosplays more sustainably. I think that overall statement is directed towards people who buy a new cosplay every single week and then just trash the one that they used. Maybe they buy it once, they buy it, they wear it once, and then they get rid of it within a week, and then only to move on to buy some more like every week, if that makes sense. Remember, there isn't anything wrong with buying your cosplays, but it is still important to think about how to avoid overconsumption and not contribute to the fast fashion industry. When you plan on buying a cosplay, try to think to yourself, is this a character that I really want to cosplay? Is this a cosplay that I see myself reusing for a long time? Or am I just buying this cosplay to cosplay this character once and that's it? Again, think about if this cosplay is going to be a worthwhile purchase for you in the long run. Try to buy things that you know that you're probably going to reuse, and this can even help you save money. Or if you really just want to cosplay a character once, try to look for that cosplay first on resale platforms like Facebook Marketplace, Depop, Mercari, and things like that. Or if you really want to cosplay that character once and you can't find that cosplay on any resale platforms, consider reselling that cosplay after you're done using it just once. And now, as far as maintaining sustainability when making your cosplays, please take advantage of your local thrift stores. I absolutely love thrifting my cosplays. One, because it's a lot cheaper than what it could be if I bought it somewhere or bought some super expensive fabric. And two, because I know I am reusing and recycling and giving this fabric a second life. If you want to take it a step further, you can even do some research on what fabrics and materials are more sustainable and environmentally friendly. Also, take a look at what materials you have laying around your house already. I had two really large TV boxes that are just sitting in my little storage room, and I've low-key been hoarding it in there for potential materials in the future. And I have honestly been able to make a lot of fun props and accessories using the cardboard from that box. Another example that I think is really cool is when I see cosplayers making their helmet wigs, specifically ones with a character with a really heavy ponytail, and maybe they want to detach it from the base of the wig, and they use the ends of plastic water bottles to twist it on and off as sort of like a locking in mechanism. I don't know how to explain it. I'll post a video example right here, but I think that is genius. I will try that in the future when I learn how to style a helmet wig. Anyways, whether you buy or make your cosplays, you are valid as a cosplayer. Just remember, it's important to think about maintaining sustainability in our craft, and it really doesn't hurt to just do your research. Okay, that is all I have for you all today. I hope you were able to take something valuable away from all of this. And if you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching my video. If you are a cosplayer, drop your thoughts in the comments down below. What you think about buying versus making your cosplays, and any tips on maintaining sustainability that I didn't mention. And if you liked this video, please consider leaving me a like, maybe a comment, or checking out my channel for more videos like this in the future. And like I mentioned before, make sure you hit that notification bell so you get a notification for every time that I post a video. Here are my other social medias. I'm mostly active on Instagram, which is where you will see the most updates about what and when I will be posting on here. And as always, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you next time.